Welcome back, everyone. Part two of my series, The Morality of Murder. Last time we talked about the issues of sort of the traditional idea of the trolley cart incident, where we look at saving the greatest number of people possible, the greatest good for the greatest number. And then we sort of juxtapose that against the idea of, okay, how many people would you let die to save the one you love the most? Well, right now, the states sort of surround me in North Carolina. We have Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida are all reopening their states to business. So the question I want to ask today is, who makes money off your death? So let's set the stage here for just a moment. Obviously, there's one element, and it's very important, that this is a highly infectious disease. It's spreading everywhere. Since my last video about a week ago, we've jumped almost 200,000 cases. We have about 950,000 cases, almost a million. We have about 52,000 deaths so far. It's now more than almost 3 countries combined, the next 3 countries. It's really horrible. We're not stopping the spread. It's getting worse. But this is a lose-lose situation. There's no good outcome in any way, shape, or form. So we have a situation where the governors are looking, and even the president, and disregard everything he says about the new whatever his Tide Pod challenge is of injecting disinfectants in your body is going to cure COVID-19. Well, it's going to cure something. It's called your life. It's going to kill you. Disregard that completely. He's not a doctor. Don't do that. But in this sort of situation, we have let's look at a middle-class family. Sorry, it keeps going in and out of focus here. Need to get a new camera. Probably have my things to do. Middle-class family makes between $40,000 and $120,000 a year, right? So they've lost their jobs. 26, 27 million. Maybe it's probably even more now. People have filed for unemployment due to COVID-19. We have so many people going to lose their jobs more. Mortgage payments are coming up. Car payments to do. If you have 2 kids, you're going to have to be looking at retirement, college, basic necessities. As your financial situation worsens, your partnership, marriage, however, is going to start deteriorating. That's one of the major causes of divorce. People know this is an inevitability, and they're saying, we know this is going to happen. This is a set period of time. This is just a couple months. We may not even get this virus. Even if we do, who cares? It's not going to, really get us. And the statistics sort of show that. But they're saying, all right, the economy is more important. So the question I want to ask today is, what is the value of your life? Because governors, the president, politicians, congressmen, women, they're all sort of factoring this in. If we reopen the economy, we're going to make money. We're going to, get the ball rolling again. Maybe. I don't really think people are actually going to go out as much as we think. But we're also going to have more deaths. So what is the cost-benefit analysis? And when governments do this cost-benefit analysis, it is absolutely just devastating because they miss so many factors, because cost benefits are very mechanical and cold. So let's look at some of the more traditional cases of this sort of incident with sort of cost benefit analysis. All right. So one of my favorite studies, and I mean this is in sort of facetiously, it's not really my favorite, but it's kind of messed up. So the Philip Morris study. in the Czech Republic, I think it was like 2010, between 2010 and 2011, I want to say, the Czech Republic wanted to ban all cigarettes. And they said, this is going to be because we need to help the public. We're going to save money doing this as well. They put this in dollar signs, which you got to be really careful of doing that. Philip Morris, one of their sort of research firms, said, oh, wait, hold our drink. We got you, fam. Here we go. Let's do our own cost-benefit analysis. Now, for the sake of argument, I've actually read this cost-benefit analysis. I've read their research. I would say their research is limited at best. It doesn't encapsulate all the variables, obviously, so that's flawed. But with the numbers they did analyze, I think they did an okay job. So the government only said there was going to be increased healthcare costs, right? So if we reduced the cigarettes, to be reduced healthcare cost. Well, they said, wait. Philip Morris goes, well, there's tax revenue from cigarettes. We make money every time someone smokes a cigarette. There are going to be health concerns. They acknowledged that. They said people are going to die. But there's healthcare savings if people die early. Oh, wait. What if people die early from COVID-19? There's going to be less Social Security payments, Medicare, pension, retirement home, VA. They're already struggling anyway. There's going to be pension savings, they said too. There's going to be savings in healthcare and housing costs. And this is, get ready, they said most people who smoke tend to be lower income and require more public housing assistance. They're dead. They don't need housing. So with this very limited number, they found there was a net gain of 147 million each year in public savings if the Czech Republic allowed people to smoke each year and have them die. Or if you would like to get down in the actual weeds, it was $1,227 per death of each Czech citizen. Well, that went over really well, and by that, it did not. This really posed a flaw. And you're looking at this, you're like, well, this is not encapsulating the true number, right? It's not just, there's other costs here, right? How much money they're going to lose for money they're going to make throughout their life. How much tax revenue they're going to give the government. Maybe even there's a benefit of reduced environmental impact as something to that effect. There's another cost, and they didn't really go too far into this, but secondhand smoking, death of children, trauma, suffering of people dying. How do you put a dollar sign on that? Obviously, this didn't go very well for Philip Morris, but the Czech Republic also, it brought a lot of attention. They didn't really end up banning cigarettes. Okay, so that's one cost-benefit analysis. Let's look at another. Let's look at the Ford Pinto case. Ford Pinto, let's go back in yesteryear. Ford was trying to compete with Toyota. And in the 70s, they wanted to bring a car to market for about today's cost of about $11,000, $12,000, really compete with the Japanese market. So what they did is they made a very small, efficient, cheap vehicle, the Ford Pinto. They make 12.5 million models. They ship them all out through the country. People start buying them. They love them. Well, they start realizing there's a huge manufacturing error. Let's take a look at it. See if you can tell what it is. Whoops. So what would happen is if you hit the car from behind going about 30 miles an hour, there was a very high likelihood that it would crush the gas tank, causing sparks from the car that hit it and igniting the vehicle. This would cause the Pinto, as well as the vehicle following it, and I'll sort of zoom through it, see, to burst into flames, killing all passengers inside or at least injuring them. A nice little fireball here. Okay, not really good PR. It wasn't good for business, obviously, right? But here's the kicker. They followed all federal guidelines. They were within the safety criteria. They actually exceeded the safety criteria for a rear impact. For this, they were doing nothing illegal. But they knew this was a problem and people were going to die. So they get sued, obviously. As part of discovery, the legal team that was suing Ford came across an internal memo where they did their own cost-benefit analysis. Let's take a look. So they had $11 per part to replace this. Really cheap, right? Even after inflation, that's just a few $100s at most. It's not very much. It's actually probably quite a bit less than a few hundred. They expected there was 180 deaths and $200,000 they're going to have to pay out for each wrongful death. They knew there were 12.5 million cars. Okay. They also knew that there was about 180 injuries with $67,000 they're probably going to have to pay out per injury, right? They were going to have to replace 2,000 vehicles at about $700 cost for the Ford Pinto. Well, there was $137 million to fix the defect, and there's only just about $50 million to pay out in so wrongful deaths and injuries. Guess what they didn't do? They didn't fix this. Oh man, what a nightmare, right? Obviously, they lose pretty dramatically, and they get sued, and they lose, and they have to pay out far more than this $200,000 per life, $67,000 per injury. It hurt their public reputation, and this was a real sort of eye-opener. You might have seen this in the classic Fight Club. This was what it was referencing early on in the movie with the Ford Pinto. But what people really, I find, are offended by is the price point of a person's life. So let's ask a very simple question. What is your life worth? Because the government's calculating it, insurance companies calculate it. When you get life insurance, you have a value put on your life. Unfortunately, for many lawyers, the deal of wrongful death, let's say you're walking down the street, you cross the road, and someone in a bus hit you right there, and you're dead. Okay. You want to sue the transportation board in your city, or whoever was running the public busing system, wrongful death. How are you going to argue it? Well, step one, you have to put a value on your life. So, easiest way to do this is you look at how much money you make, look at your average lifespan that you're going to live, and that's your dollar sign. That's how much you have lost on this planet. So if you're making $50,000 and you're, 36 or 35, and you're a man, you have about 41 years left to live on average. 41 years times $50,000. There you go. That is your payout, and maybe a little bit for pension, but who knows? Okay, that's how you generate the value of your life. What you make, what you are worth. Why should someone pay you $1 million a year, essentially, for 40 years? 40 million? If you're not worth that, you weren't making that much money. Now, if you made, 50 million a year, well, that's a whole different story. You can sue for a lot more money. Now, the other side of this is not the financial compensation, it is the emotional damage. Okay, and this is where people go, well, there's a loss. Unfortunately, to prove emotional damage, let's back up. You're walking across the street, trolley cart's coming down. You oh no, oh God, I'm gonna die. It's a trolley. Okay, and you get hit. You're dead. You can charge a very, very large number for that few seconds of realizing your death is imminent, or maybe you were hit and you're bleeding out, but you didn't die on the spot, you can charge for emotional and physical damages, and you can ask the moon for that. But this is where it gets weird. What's a child's life worth? Child's walking across the street. They don't make any money. They're, if anything, they're a cost. They aren't screaming. They don't just get hit. I mean, it's a sad thought to think, but they're not worth anything under this cost-benefit model. That's how the legal system looks at this. Now, we have an emotional feel of what this is, but it's very hard to quantify a number. So the thought I want to leave you on is, what is your life worth? If you had to put a dollar sign on it, if you had to leave the world, what would it be? And what lawyers usually tell people is they try to let go of all the emotion of the death. It's horrible to say, how much money would your family need with you being gone? That's what we're going to ask for. That's what we're going to try to get. What do you need to make it through this time of grieving and loss with something that will tide you over for a good bit of your life? The government, I assure you, values the cost of the economy and the imminent collapse of the U.S. economy versus the value of people dying. Leave you on that thought. Next time around, we're going to be talking about a little bit more of the government and the aspect of what number do they want to see? How far are they willing to sacrifice to save the majority of people? We'll come back to that. Guys, you have a great day. Bye now.